Hello, welcome to our channel.
Hello there, everyone.
Those who fear death the most are actually the ones who have never truly lived. Here's exactly what I mean. I read about this while doing some research, and I wanted to discuss it with you. It turns out that people who can't realize their potential even in old age are the ones who feel the most regret. I'd also like to ask our viewers, could this be the case for you as well? Let's discover it together.
Yes.
What exactly should we understand by self-actualization?
By the way, you've chosen a really great topic.
Thank you.
What we need to understand from self-actualization, what we really need to understand from self-actualization is actually this. To reach the top level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In other words, we can call it the need for transcendence. I don't want to get too theoretical though. Simply put, what your research meticulously describes is this fundamental truth. We should all strive to live a truly fulfilling and meaningful life, embracing every moment and opportunity that comes our way. After living a fulfilling life, we feel that we have achieved self-actualization. In other words, we need to reach certain goals. Of course, at the very bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid are the basic physiological needs, such as breathing and eating. Then come essential stages like seeking shelter, then ensuring safety, fostering a sense of belonging, earning and giving respect, being truly respected, and so on. However, I can explain it quite simply like this.
So what are the things that prevent us from reaching our potential?
Actually, most of the time I observe this both in my surroundings and during sessions. It stems from core beliefs buried in the subconscious. In fact, when we were taking these kinds of trainings, our instructors used to say to us, "A person truly needs no enemy other than themselves." At the time, I didn't really understand what they meant. Now, I hope I can explain to you what that really means. So, what are the obstacles? Now, since we are social beings, we are naturally very open to suggestions from our environment. Our subconscious is also very receptive. We have a strong tendency to accept the values and beliefs of the societies and communities we live in. As a result, we shape our lives and the way we live according to this. But on one hand, we have the values and beliefs of the society we live in, and on the other hand, there is ourselves. So, how are we going to realize our potential here? In other words, we try to make ourselves compatible with the society we are in, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Or, for example, we often observe this particular phenomenon in individuals who are profoundly self-sacrificing. For instance, we can clearly see this pattern in people who have wholeheartedly dedicated their entire lives to the well-being of others and who genuinely desire to be remembered as truly good and benevolent people. They have in fact given up so much of themselves, their own needs and their personal desires, that I frequently encounter the following significant insights and observations in my therapeutic sessions. For example, when they go through a bad experience and realize that there is no one left around them or they can't find enough support, that's when they turn inward and notice how unsatisfying their life has been, how much they've postponed themselves. So that's why our core beliefs, well, we need to become aware of them. Unfortunately, they reside in our subconscious. But only after becoming aware of these can we realize whether we are truly ourselves or just living in too much harmony with those around us. For example, there was an incident I encountered like this. I had a client who was financially well off, but for years he used a broken phone, and in our sessions he would often complain about this. My life just never becomes satisfying. I wonder if I don't really know myself. So when will I discover what I actually need? And so on. We are discovering it. Yes, he really needs it, but he can't take action. Later we realized that there was a belief underlying all this. This was a belief imposed on him by his family, constantly repeated, reinforced through suggestions. So, as situations arise, families or those around us don't do this intentionally, but they do impose their values and beliefs on us. For example, that client had this belief, like, I don't deserve this. There's no need to buy expensive things. That's too expensive. There's no need to be wasteful. This broken phone does the job for me. But on the other hand, when he returned to reality and reconsidered his own needs in light of that reality, the broken phone he was using made him extremely unhappy. This is exactly what I was trying to point out. Look, his own beliefs and values have come into conflict with the values and beliefs that society or his family have imposed on him since the past. How did we achieve the change? He went and bought himself a really expensive phone. Afterwards, he replaced his belief and core conviction there with this: I deserve this. Of course, at first it's not easy for him to take action here, because that place is very unfamiliar to him.
It's unfamiliar.
Yes, stepping outside of what's familiar. So thoughts like these probably crossed his mind. Am I truly and genuinely going to spend this substantial amount of money on a brand new phone? But on the other hand, the profound awareness that we meticulously created during our intensive sessions directly confronted his deeply held usual beliefs with this compelling and novel idea. Well, I deserve this. I asked him this during the session. So all these years of academic and financial investment you've made in yourself, what was it for? He answered, for myself. But what's important there isn't what we feel or think, it's our actions. So I said, you need to support this with your actions. Only if you do this will life become more satisfying for you. And now he has indeed shaped his entire life in this particular way. That's precisely why, in fact, our deeply ingrained core beliefs and fundamental values residing within our subconscious minds exert a truly immense and profound impact on all of our life choices, quite often without us even consciously realizing it. Sometimes this particular phenomenon doesn't cause any significant problems for us whatsoever, but at other times it most certainly does. But we can't discover it, you know? Like I said at the very beginning, after you asked the question, it's clear that a person really doesn't need any enemy other than themselves. That's exactly what I meant. You can only truly discover these important insights by carefully watching us and significantly increasing your overall awareness.
You said our beliefs are formed in our childhood. How does that happen? How do these beliefs develop so much during our childhood?
It happens so naturally and spontaneously. Well, it doesn't have to be just in childhood, by the way.
Yes, my next question, is it only in childhood?
No.
Or do they continue to develop and evolve even after we have fully grown up and matured?
Yes. It can happen at any moment, because let me explain it to you like this. Now, the reason it happens in childhood is that we take our parents or whoever our caregiver is as role models, and we shape our sense of right and wrong according to their value and belief systems. Actually, at the root of this is the following. In the evolutionary process, since humans are social beings, we are instinctively compelled to resemble one another. People who resemble each other only feel safe when they are together. In fact, I recently read a study about this very phenomenon. People who spend enough time together, thanks to our mirror neurons, they tend to unconsciously mimic each other's expressions and gestures, leading to a deeper, more profound connection. They even start to show similarities in certain reactions. Their micro-expressions, surprise reactions, and so on start to resemble each other. At the root of this is entirely the feeling of being safe. Naturally, we tend to internalize the thoughts and beliefs of people we model ourselves after, care about, or value. Yes, after a while they become a part of us. We start to think as if they are one of us.
So how does this manifest itself in daily life?
So how does this show up in daily life? Well, if people are truly unable to find genuine satisfaction in their lives, even though they possess the means or the potential, if they simply cannot live a truly fulfilling life, then it's certainly worth taking a closer look at the subconscious. Now, most people attribute the reason for their dissatisfaction with life to more superficial things. For example, they say, I just don't have enough time. For instance, they might say, I earn so much money, I get recognition, but I just don't have enough time. Or, I don't know, maybe someone is truly an expert in their field. But at the same time, their family or those around them have always given them this advice since they were young. Be a humble person, okay? Every person is equal. If someone has internalized the belief that there are no differences between people, that everyone deserves equal respect, and if they don't receive enough approval from those around them for their achievements and can't ask for it, and this leads to a sense of dissatisfaction, then such underlying beliefs may be at play. They maintain a humble attitude. Their values and beliefs have been shaped in this direction. But sometimes, shouldn't we praise ourselves for our achievements too? That's not a bad thing. What we're talking about isn't narcissism, nor is it arrogance. You've achieved something and naturally you feel proud of yourself for it. That's a very healthy thing. There's a saying, never forget this. Excessive modesty, in its very nature, often ends with the unfortunate consequence of taking advice from those who are, in reality, fools. So be careful about that. Naturally, why does a person choose to invest so much of their valuable time and considerable effort into themselves academically, pursuing knowledge and intellectual growth, and, well, financially securing their future and well-being?
To truly improve themselves.
I mean, there's a need for approval, because they need to realize themselves. And in order to realize themselves, they need to be satisfied with themselves. This happens more often with approval or appreciation from others. Yes, we do appreciate ourselves. But if we keep appreciating ourselves without any approval or appreciation from others, we may end up feeling more lonely rather than satisfied, right? That's why we make these investments in ourselves in the first place. That's why it's important to be aware of these core beliefs and our values. Now, our viewers can ask themselves this question. By the way, let me mention this while we're at it. In the context of this behavior, it doesn't seem quite right. Or in this sense, I don't feel satisfied with myself because of this trait of mine. I wonder why I keep behaving this way. I still don't change this behavior of mine. They can take a look at this.
So can I give an example like this? I don't want to do it, because I can't do it.
For example, yes.
That's also a belief.
It could be, how do you know you can't do it?
You're saying it needs to be tried.
Of course, always. You might fail, but I just don't want to do it. I can't do it as a conditioning. We're actually conditioning ourselves there. Why should we do that? You might fail. Try. Saying I couldn't do it after trying is something different. That's a judgment. But saying I can't succeed without even trying is a prejudice. That's the difference between the two. Yes.
We asked how this shows up in daily life. Could we say it's not being able to enjoy life?
Yes, we can enjoy it. So the more this spreads throughout our lives, the more our motivation to succeed or to improve ourselves starts to decrease. Because we can't achieve it. I mean, we can't get what we're trying to reach.
So what should we do?
Yes, as I said, first of all, we already touched on this a little earlier. If there are behavioral patterns that bother us but we still haven't changed or can't change, we need to take a look at our subconscious about this. For example, let me put it simply. For instance, sometimes I ask my clients this during sessions. Okay? So, they have a trait that bothers them or they're experiencing a certain situation. It bothers them. But even though they fully know what specific action would effectively get them out of that uncomfortable situation, they still simply can't do it. Let me give a very concrete example. For instance, their spouse or partner speaks to them in a distinctly judgmental or critical way. This deeply bothers them, but they truly can't take any action. I ask, why? So even though you know what you need to do, what do you think is the reason you can't take action? I say. They say, well, I just don't want any tension or problems between us. I immediately ask them this. Who used to say this sentence to you the most? Could this also be rooted in childhood? Of course. Or who did you hear it from?
From your mother, your father.
For example. Or just let it go, my daughter, my son.
Don't disturb the peace at home.
Yes, don't let the peace be disturbed.
The beliefs of our elders are actually imposed on us as well.
I mean, our elders don't do this to us intentionally to harm us. Of course, they're telling us what they believe to be true, but how does it actually affect our lives? That part is unclear.
Different lives.
Yes, I mean, we need to take a look at this a bit. A large part of our behavior is already shaped by our subconscious. That's the purpose of our channel. To help you discover your subconscious.
Maybe you're holding yourself back without even realizing it. And maybe the greatest potential of your life is still waiting inside you. What do you think is stopping you from realizing yourself? I want to talk about it in the comments.
Yes.
Thank you for this conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave comment.
Yes. See you in the next video.